The story, The 12 Dancing Princesses. Once upon a time, there was a king with 12 beautiful princesses. These princesses lived together in a large and beautiful room. The king protected his daughters with all his heart, and when they went to sleep at night, he did not allow them to leave the room. However, every morning, a strange thing happened. The shoes of the princesses were all worn out, as if they had been dancing all night long. The king bought new shoes for each daughter every day, but in the following days, the shoes were still worn out. Neither the king nor the wise counselors in the castle could decipher the mystery behind the princesses' shoes. Why is this happening? How can a pair of shoes wear out like this overnight? The king pondered, and the wise counselors were equally puzzled. Finally, the king declared, "Anyone who can unravel the secrets of my daughter's shoes will be allowed to choose any of my daughters to be their wife and heir to the golden throne when I pass away. However, the person will have only 3 nights to solve the mystery, otherwise, they will be sentenced to eternal imprisonment." Many young men from the kingdom, even princes from other kingdoms, came to the castle to undertake the challenge in the following days. They stood guard outside the princess's bedroom but couldn't find the secret, and the shoes continued to wear out at night. Finally, a kind-hearted young man decided to join the quest. On his way to the castle, he encountered a poor old woman. "My son, I am hungry. Can you spare me a piece of bread?" The young man gave all the food in his bag to the old woman, who was delighted because the previous men had passed her without offering anything. She believed this young man to be special and gave him a magic cloak. "Take this magic cloak, it can make the wearer invisible. When the clock strikes 12, wear this cloak, become invisible, and enter the princess's room. You can unravel the mystery of the shoes, but be careful not to drink anything the princesses offer you." Oh, those mischievous princesses! The young man accepted the gift and continued on his journey to the castle. And when he arrived, he said that he came to decipher the mystery of the shoes. On the first night, while he was guarding in front of the door of the princess's room, the eldest princess came out with a glass of lemonade. "Okay, you must be tired, and we've prepared some lemonade for you. Give it a try." Forgetting the old lady's warning, he drank the water, and soon he felt very sleepy, falling into a deep sleep throughout the night in the room they had prepared for him. In the morning, the young man woke up, surprised. "I thought I had put on the magic cloak and entered the princess's room already?" On the second night, the young man, once again, stood guard in front of the princess's bedroom. This time, a different princess came out with a glass of juice, and the young man was very thirsty. When he stood by the door, waiting for the night to fall, he drank all the juice the princess handed him. Of course, he fell asleep again. The next morning, after waking up, he finally remembered the old lady's advice but still needed to be cautious about not drinking anything the princesses offered. It must be a sleeping potion in the water, and the princesses gave it to me, he thought. The king came to him and said, 2 days have passed, and you haven't solved the mystery of the shoes. If you can't decipher it today, you will end up as a prisoner in the dungeon for the rest of your life. The king spoke, then walked away. The young man had to solve the mystery that night, the last chance. He continued to guard in front of the princess's door. This time, the youngest princess came out with a glass of orange juice. The young man, however, was cautious. He took the glass, thanked the princess, and when she left, he poured the orange juice into a nearby basin. This time, he succeeded. The night fell, and not long after, the young man put on the enchanted cloak just as the clock struck 12. He entered the princess's room. To his amazement, all the princesses were wearing the most beautiful cloaks, with beautifully styled hair and makeup, along with brand new shoes. "Let's see if the boy outside the door is asleep," one princess said. Another princess pressed her ear against the wall. At that moment, the young man knew he should pretend to snore. After making sure the boy was asleep, the elder princess pushed the bed aside, and by clapping her hands 3 times, a secret passage opened right where the bed was. The young man could hardly believe his eyes. As each princess entered, he followed closely behind. The secret passage led to a staircase where hundreds of steps descended. Suddenly, the young man stepped on one of the princess's dresses. "Oh, someone has touched my dress." "Nonsense, you probably stepped on it yourself." After descending all the steps, they reached a forest. They walked through a tall tree with silver branches. The young man broke a branch and continued following the princesses. After a long walk, they stopped by a river, where 12 swan-shaped boats and 12 princes awaited the princesses. Boarding the last boat, a princess noticed its unusual weight. "This boat seems heavier than usual, like there's an extra person on board. Strange." "Stop imagining things," the other princess replied. While crossing the river, they passed by a dazzling castle where music could be heard from inside. Looking through a window, the young man saw many people dancing. When they entered the castle, the princesses began to dance tirelessly, and their shoes started to wear out. Unable to withstand hunger any longer, the young man took a piece of cake from the table. The youngest princess noticed, exclaiming, "Hey, my cake! It's like someone invisible is eating it." "Come on, stop with the nonsense." Grabbing a golden cup unnoticed. After the dance, they returned to their castle, and the shoes were worn out again. The young man was delighted to have finally discovered the mystery. Later, the king approached him, asking, "Did you find the secret of the shoes today?" "Yes, your majesty, I did," the young man replied and narrated the whole story. Initially skeptical, the king believed him when shown the silver tree branch and the golden cup from the castle. True to his promise, the king allowed the young man to choose any princess to marry. The young man chose the youngest princess, and despite the disappointment of the other princesses, he and the youngest princess lived happily ever after. Thanks for being enchanted with us. Subscribe for more magical tales. Hit the bell so you never miss the enchantment.